My daughter poisoned my drink at a family dinner, but what happened next changed us forever. My name is John. I am 63 years old. And the night I realized my own daughter was capable of betraying me was the night I stopped seeing her as my little girl. It was also the night I had to decide whether I wanted revenge or wisdom. The invitation. When Emily called and invited me to dinner, her voice sounded unusually sweet. "Dad, we miss you. Let's have a proper family evening. No tension, just us." That should have made me happy. Instead, it made me uneasy. You see, fathers develop instincts, and mine had been whispering to me for months that something wasn't right. Emily and her husband Daniel had been struggling financially, yet their social media told a different story: luxury vacations, new furniture, expensive dinners. I knew what that meant. Debt. But every time I refused to give them money, Emily would say the same thing. "You don't trust me." It hurt every time. Because trust was never the issue. Responsibility was. Still, I went. Because no matter how old your child gets, when they call, you answer. The dinner table. Her house was spotless. Candles lit. Soft music playing. It looked less like a family dinner and more like a performance. Emily hugged me tightly, too tightly. Daniel shook my hand but avoided eye contact. We sat down. Emily insisted on pouring the drinks herself. "Dad, this one's special," she said, handing me my glass. Her fingers trembled. Just slightly. I didn't react. But I noticed. At 63, you've learned that silence reveals more than confrontation. We raised our glasses. "To family," she said. Her eyes locked on mine. I took a sip. And something felt wrong. Not dramatic. Not immediate. Just slightly bitter. Unnatural. And when I glanced up, I saw something that made my heart sink. Emily wasn't drinking. Daniel wasn't drinking. They were watching me. Waiting. A father's decision. Time slowed. Was I imagining it? Was this paranoia? Or was this instinct? I gently placed my glass down. "Daniel," I said calmly, "try this, it's excellent." And before anyone could react, I casually swapped our glasses. The silence that followed was louder than a scream. Emily stood up abruptly. "Actually, maybe we shouldn't drink tonight." Her voice cracked. Daniel froze. "What's going on?" he asked. That's when Emily broke. Not defensively. Not angrily. But desperately. The truth beneath the lie. "It wasn't meant to hurt you," she cried. "It was just something mild, something to scare you." My heart didn't race. It sank. "What do you mean, scare me?" I asked. Her confession spilled out between sobs. She had added something harmless, something that would make me feel slightly unwell later. Her plan: convince me I needed to transfer property and savings sooner. Make me believe my health might be declining. Pressure me into securing her future. It wasn't about killing me. It was about manipulating me. But betrayal doesn't measure danger. It measures intention. And her intention was to deceive. The real wound. Daniel looked horrified. "You planned this?" he asked her. She nodded through tears. "You said he'd never help us," she snapped at him. "You said he cared more about money than us." That's when it hit me. She didn't see me as her father anymore. She saw me as a vault. And that realization hurt more than any physical harm ever could. Flashbacks. I remembered working double shifts when she was 10. I remembered selling my motorcycle so she could attend university. I remembered paying for her wedding, even when I couldn't afford it comfortably. Every sacrifice replayed in my mind. And suddenly I felt very, very tired. The breaking point. I stood up slowly. Emily, I said softly, do you really believe I love money more than you? She didn't answer. That silence was everything. I would give you my last breath, I continued, but I will not give you the right to manipulate me. She collapsed into tears. Daniel walked outside, stunned. The candles flickered, and something inside me changed forever. The aftermath. I left that night without shouting, without threats, just quiet disappointment. And quiet disappointment is far heavier than anger. The next morning I met my lawyer. Not out of revenge, out of clarity. I restructured everything. Emily would receive a modest inheritance, enough for stability, not indulgence. The majority of my estate would go toward a foundation, supporting elderly individuals abandoned or financially exploited by family members. Because I had met too many men my age sitting alone in clinics, waiting for children who never arrived. I refused to become one of them. Months of silence. Daniel moved out temporarily. He felt betrayed too. Emily tried calling me dozens of times. I didn't block her, but I didn't answer immediately either. Boundaries are not punishments. They are protection. She eventually began therapy. For the first time in her life, she had to confront something uncomfortable. Her entitlement, her fear, her insecurity. She had been comparing her life to others online, trying to keep up, and she believed I was the solution to her financial anxiety. Not discipline, not budgeting. May, the apology. 6 months later, she showed up at my door. No makeup, no designer handbag, no performance. Just my daughter. I was wrong, Dad, she said. Not defensive, not justifying, just accountable. She told me she had started working extra hours, sold unnecessary furniture, closed credit cards. They were downsizing. For the first time, she was building something honestly. And I saw something in her eyes I hadn't seen in years. Humility, rebuilding. Forgiveness is not instant. Trust is not automatic. But love, real love, allows rebuilding. Slowly, we began having weekly dinners again. Simple meals. Simple conversations. No hidden motives. No financial discussions. Just father and daughter. And for the first time in years, I felt she saw me. Not my savings. Not my house. May. What I learned at 63. At 63 years old, I've realized something important. Sometimes children do betray you because they are evil. They betray you because they are afraid. Afraid of failure. Afraid of falling behind. Afraid of not being enough. And when fear mixes with entitlement, it becomes dangerous. The drink that night wasn't the real poison. Comparison was. Greed was. Insecurity was. The strongest moment. One evening, Emily said something that healed more than any apology. I don't want your money anymore, Dad, I just want you. And that's when I knew. The lesson had finally reached her heart. Final moral. Love without boundaries becomes self-destruction. Money can support family, but it should never control it. True wealth is not inheritance, it is character. And sometimes, the hardest lesson a parent must teach is that love does not mean surrendering dignity.